Welcome to Dad Bros, a podcast by bros just trying to dad their best. All are welcome here. Moms, pet parents, non-parents, non-binary parents, and everything in between.
I'm Jay, or Jason. I'm the older brother. I am a dad of three and also four animals and an uncle of many.
And I'm Adam, the younger brother, dad of one tiny human, and an uncle of more.
That's true. You do have more nieces and nephews.
More nieces and nephews.
Yeah, well, we have been brothers nearly my entire life.
And all of mine.
And I've been a father for going on 14 years.
And at the time of recording this first ever episode, my baby is literally getting evicted into the world in 3 days. They don't actually exist yet.
Oh, what a great time to come into the world.
Yeah, I know. Quite literally, as everyone is going viral.
Viral, influenza A and COVID and RSV and measles. Thought we got rid of that back in the 1900s.
Yeah, really excited to be bringing a baby into this world at the end of February where, you know, it's actually a pretty healthy time for everybody. We have a pre-written text already to go out to all family members and friends being like, if you feel sick, if you have the sniffles, do not come see our baby. We're already placing boundaries on people.
You got to do that sometimes.
Yeah.
Especially when everybody's got influenza A or measles.
So, okay, why are two white guys launching another podcast? One, I live 2 streets down from where the Kelsey brothers grew up, so we're just destined to be successful. But the real reason is not a lot of content exists out there for dads. There's some like good TikTok accounts and Instagram accounts, but there's not like a whole lot of it. And also selfishly, it's a way for Jay and I to get to hang out every 2 weeks without a bunch of crying babies for an hour. So that's why we're doing it. Jay, what's the basic format of our show?
I'm so glad that you asked. The basic format is that we will go over some initial topics for the week, things that have been on our mind. We'll just kind of chat through our perspectives on them. Me as an experienced dad, whatever that means, and you as an experienced uncle who has not gone through it with a little human baby in your house and dependent upon you 24/7. So we'll delve into some little topics. Then we will have a larger topic to discuss every week. And then we'll end with something fun, which could be trivia. It could be what do baby things cost these days? It could be what are our current earworms? The only thing that interrupts the earworm is the next earworm. Doop, ba-doop, ba-doop, ba-doop.
I haven't decided if I'm going to do this a lot, but I also think I want to measure my baby and tell you what size they are, kind of like how the what to expect when you're expecting apps do, but when they're out of the womb. So be like, today baby is the size of 4 entire ears of corn, and I know because I measured them, things of that nature.
I love that. How long do you think you could keep that going?
I don't know, because some of these, like the one, we use a couple of them. There's the what to expect when you're expecting, and then there's the other one that I can't remember, but I'm not going to look at my phone right now. And it tells you every week what they are. Like right now, baby is the size of a pumpkin, but it gives you a daily fact. And the daily fact today was like, baby's foot is the size of an Elmer's glue stick. Also, I'm sure every couple episodes we'll be rehashing texts I send to you at like 4 a.m, being like, Jay, is this normal? What's happening? Why is the poop this color? So we'll probably do some of that too.
Yep.
All right. Let's get into our first initial topics. What's the first thing we've got here?
Yeah, so our first one, and I would love to get your perspective on this since you just went through it. When to tell loved ones that you are expecting.
Yeah. Okay. Not to get heavy and sad on our first episode 5 minutes in, but when Alex, who is my wife, partner, and as John Hodgman would say, whole human being in her own right, when we found out we were pregnant, we had a miscarriage like a year ago, and it sucked. And the only news we got to tell you and all of our family, our sisters, our parents, and everybody was that we had a miscarriage. And it was like, you know, we're sobbing and we're like, this is miserable. And that was at the 10-week mark. And so when we found out we were pregnant again, I remember FaceTiming you and Jess, your wife and partner and whole human being in her own right, to tell you guys first. I think it was right at like the 10-week mark. And the reason being, we were like, you know what? If we're going to find out that we had miscarried again, we at least wanted to have like a moment of joy. And I got to make my older brother cry, which is like, that's the biggest win, is making a loved one cry. So I would say like we decided to tell you and Alex's sister at like the 10-week mark. Then I think we told everyone else at like 12 or 14 weeks. I feel like you had to keep the secret for like 2 to 4-ish weeks. But I will say, like, we felt comfortable telling people after we heard the heartbeat for the first time. Do you remember what you guys did with yours?
Heartbeat sounds right for you telling me. I think that makes sense. And I do think that that's a milestone that people use. I think traditionally folks have always said, let's get through the first trimester because that's where you're in the most danger of losing the baby. For us, I'm trying to reverse engineer this because I know Eliza, our 6 year old, 6.5, who was our first together, Jess and my first together, we told everybody on Christmas Eve, and she was born in August. So we couldn't have been that far
Yeah.
along. I'm thinking we must have also been like 10 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
And then for Sky, our 3 soon to be 4 year old, I know that we didn't intend on telling anybody when we did. And I can't exactly remember. I can't remember when it was. I think it was around the same, but I know that at least Megan, our younger, older sister, just knew. Like we just
Yeah.
went over there for dinner one day or something and nothing happened, but she was like something. And so I think that was generally our kind of rule of thumb too, though, is let's make sure that we at least see her OB first and make sure that everything looks good before we broadcast it out, just for
Yeah.
superstition.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, the heartbeat thing was really big for us because we not to like get super deep, but my wife is a twin, and so when our first time around, there was like something on the first ultrasound before we heard the heartbeat that they're like, "Oh, you might have twins." So we spent 24 hours being like, "We have to move. We have to buy new cars. We have to get rid of our almost 15-year-old and almost 11-year-old dogs. What's going to happen?" And so we spent a whole day thinking there was two, and when in reality what they had seen was like the second thing they saw was like tearing, and so we found out it was like the absolute biggest roller coaster. So we were so crushed that we realized like the next time we got pregnant, we're like, okay, if we hear the heartbeat, we're gonna tell everybody. And like thankfully it has worked out, to this point. Again, we don't know what we don't know until they arrive, but as of now it has all worked out. And again, like if you can make people in your life cry, you always got to do it. It's just the best. So
It is a tasty little morsel. You like have to cut to Dr. Saperstein in Parks and Rec, where it's like, oh, only triplets.
yeah.
Thank goodness.
So we told everyone pretty quickly, but we didn't we're not huge using of social media. We use it a little bit. I like Instagram. We'll probably do stuff with this podcast so that it goes viral. Again, second time use of viral, nailed it.
Nailed it.
And they say if you want to go viral, you got to talk about going viral a lot. That's in there. We didn't put anything on social media until like the 7-month mark, and that was only because we took a trip to Scotland, like right at the very end when Alex could travel. She happened to find a photographer for like really cheap who would take like Scottish countryside photos of us. And we're like, well, we have to share these. These are incredible. So I don't think we told anybody online until it was like 7 months. That was just us being cautious, and also like we didn't want to tell everybody. We didn't care. Not everybody needed to know our life. So that I remember specifically.
You know what's interesting is I ran into one of our former coworkers, yours and mine, former coworkers at Sky's football, and she asked how you were doing. I don't even know that I've told you this.
You
And
haven't. I like this.
she's like, "Yeah, how's your brother doing?" And I'm like, "Oh, great. Yeah, the baby's due in a few months." And she's just like, "What?" And I was like, "Yeah, but this was, I mean, October probably."
Yeah.
So it was, we were definitely third trimester at
Oh
that
yeah.
point.
Oh yeah. We absolutely. I mean, I will say like we didn't tell like the social media world. Obviously, our friends who we hang out with, we told them relatively quickly. Something I didn't know as a guy, and I like this is type of stuff I want to talk about on our show is like it's something like a third of all pregnancies end in miscarriage. I think it's a huge number, and I didn't know that. And I remember being crushed when it happened, and then telling your best friend, who is one of my best friends, Max, and one of my other best friends, Jeff. I had this text group with them. I told them the news, and they were both like, "Yep, happened to us too." And like I had no idea. And so like I think that's one thing as a dad, if you're listening to this, it happens a lot. It doesn't make it suck any less, but like we felt comfortable after the first heartbeat telling immediate people around us, and then like you said, once you kind of get through the first trimester, the percentages of miscarriage go down to like single digits. So I guess if you want to like really get an actual answer, first trimester is probably the right thing. Yeah.
Yeah, I think as with anything, you have to, every single thing in life, and this I think is really a keynote of being a parent. Every single decision you make is balancing risk and reward, and it's just about your risk tolerance for, am I going to let my kid jump off the couch or like stack six cushions up and then jump off of that onto something that's wooden, knowing that he could crack his skull, but he'll probably be fine, maybe never do it again. I do not have that risk tolerance, but I think this is kind of similar for what are you trying to get out of it, and everybody's got to make that decision for themselves. I did look up Mayo Clinic says 10 to 20% of pregnancies end in miscarriage. So
Oh, that's oh,
NHS in the UK says 1 in 8. So seems like
okay.
in that general
Yeah,
between one
I
and
was
five
way
and
over.
1 in 8. Regardless, though, it's more, and to your point, it's heartbreaking. But I am curious. So, like, you've made the decision to tell your friends, you're progressing, everything looks good, and then you get to around the 20-week mark, and you can have that kind of full body scan, anatomy scan, and find out the gender. Now, we found out with ours.
Hmm.
You chose not to. What went into that decision for you?
So we just like Alex and I feel like you and Jess are the same way, but like Alex and I just like we when one of us has a thought, we're like, hey, what if we did this? The other one just we both are on the same page always, and this was one we were both on the same page with. And it was just something about the fact that there's so few genuine surprises in life, and we realized like this, if we can find a way to get the doctors and the nurses and the techs to all also not accidentally give it away, which they haven't so far. There's only 3 days left. We're like, let's just try not to find out. Also, of the color scheme we had in our like for the baby's room, regardless, is like greens, and not that colors are gendered anyway, but like we're like it's not gonna matter. And also, one, it really frustrates other people, which is hilarious because they get mad about a thing for no reason. The same thing with the topic we're going to talk about right after this. People get deeply frustrated when they're like, "What do you mean you're not finding out?" And we have all these friends who they're not being serious, but they're like, "I wanted to buy you girl clothes," and we're like, "They're going to be a newborn. There's no such thing as girl or boy clothes when they're newborns. Like, stop it. That's stupid." So we for 2 reasons. One, to give our friends and family a hard time who really wanted to know. Brings us a little bit of joy to laugh at them getting frustrated. But the real reason was just the surprise was really cool for us. But I will say for you, like, what was your guys' decision? Because having been at the reveal parties you guys threw, those were so much fun. So what was your decision to? Why did you guys choose to find out?
Yeah, thinking back to Eliza, I don't know if there was an impetus to find out other than people just usually find out. And so we went with it. And as people that sometimes get anxious when planning isn't clear,
Hmm.
which I think Jess and I both have different scenarios where like some organized chaos is okay, and other times when it stresses us out. I think we thought that the path of least stress for us would be if we know we can plan the name, we can have the theme of the room, you know, potentially tailored to the name that we're going to use, which we did. Eliza, we thought she was going to be Ellie, so there's all sorts of elephant stuff in her room, and she has never ever been Ellie. The
Not
day
even
she was
once.
born, not once. The day she was born, the first thing we called her that wasn't her name was Rudy, and we're like, where did this even come from? She's no longer Rudy either. She's settled into Liz or Lizzie. But I think that was the nature of it the first time. The second time, if I'm being totally honest, I think it was a lot about trying to find out, is this going to be a boy? Because it was meaningful in our family for a lot of reasons to have a boy
Hmm.
because there wasn't, we didn't know about little lightning bug coming in
Hmm.
3 days and whether or not they will be able to carry on our last name. And not that we could have changed it, but I think for whatever reason, it was meaningful to everybody to just know this is a boy. I will say, I had never considered it through the lens of there are so few real surprises of joy outside of like finding out that you're pregnant. So, had we thought about it through that lens, I think we may have chosen not to decide. But I do think that's a valid, not that
Yeah.
you need my validation or not, but I think that's a really great reason to look at it that way.
Yeah, well, and to your point, like for people listening in who don't know Jay and I, like I imagine we'll be very, very open and honest during this podcast. That's kind of the whole point. Is like we are both on our second relationships after both having had an initial relationship that did not go the way everyone imagined your relationship would go when it first starts out, and we both found the person we were supposed to be with. I remember, again, I'm not gonna try to get too sappy every episode, but I remember I was going through a divorce, telling Jay and his wife Jess, who's one of the best people in the world. I was like, I just want to find my Jess. And I did. Her name is Alex. Her name is not Jess. So, like, would have been better if her name was Jess. But to your point, like, I totally get that because at the time when you guys were having Sky, my now wife, I didn't know she existed in the world. I had no idea this person was out there. The previous marriage I was in, I didn't think I was ever going to get to have children. Yeah, it is cool to know, and I'm sure it's probably cool for our dad, but it's cool to know no matter what Alex and I end up having, Sky is going to be a Sokol. So there'll be another Sokol out there in the world for sure. Speaking of names, I can't remember. Did you guys tell people the names beforehand? I feel like I should remember this.
We definitely told people Eliza's name, and I'm pretty sure that we told people Sky's name also. But again, I think it was just a matter of sometimes the path of least resistance is just if people want to do something like create a gift with the baby's name on it, it's
Mm-hmm.
just easier to not have to deal with telling this person you're gonna have to wait because our favorite teacher from high school, Nan Mahoney, gave me some of the best advice I've ever gotten. I will never forget it. She wrote it in a letter to me when I graduated, and it was pick your battles. Some things aren't worth the fight. And that's just one where I think we felt like, number one, we're excited about the names. Once we
Mm-hmm.
settled in on them, and it took a while, but we were excited about it. So we were excited to share that with people. But also, we knew just by the nature of the people that are in our lives that they would want to make custom gifts and tailor everything. And why have and that in that time we're like, you don't have the headspace to fight about telling
Mm-hmm.
you no, you don't have to customize it right now. And also, not for nothing, we're like terrible at keeping secrets, which is why anyway, I won't go into it with respect to your name, but yeah.
Okay, no, we can get into that because we have not told anybody our names, dot, 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 except, and the funny thing is, as long as she's not hearing us record, I'm going to say this kind of quietly in the microphone. So earlier in the pregnancy, Alex told her best friend the names that we picked. And I saw the text message that the friend was like, how's, and she put the names doing. And I said, what's this? And she's like, oh, uh-oh, you weren't supposed to know. And I was like, when were you planning on telling me that you had told Meg, your friend, our names? And she's like, I wasn't gonna tell you.
Very
And
honest.
so the best part is she's going to hear this and find out that Jay is the only other person who also knows the names. Unless she's hearing me record this and then I'm going to open the door when I get done and she's going to be like, excuse me? So anyway, we have not told anybody the names, but I'm loving having this conversation because I didn't even think about like gifts and stuff like that. To us, it was just sort of like we just wanted to keep them to ourselves because I don't know why we always think about the negative aspect of this. I'm a very positive person now, but like our mind was like, we're going to tell people the names and all they're going to do is have an opinion on it. They're either going to be like, oh, that's cute. And we're going to be like, yes, we don't need your validation. We agree. It is cute. Or they're going to be like, oh, that's interesting. And we're both going to be like, oh, what? What's that mean? And so the gift thing makes a ton of sense. We've also just been telling people buy us books, buy us children's books, and get us green or get us any color onesies you want, but whatever. Like so, but the gifts thing makes a lot of sense. I guess I didn't think people would be that sweet and wonderful and get us personalized gifts like that.
Yeah. People generally do suck. You're right.
Yeah.
It is, though, I will tell you, it is like a point of contention within me right now where I'm like, there's a couple gifts that I do want to like have both ready since I know
Mm-hmm.
both
Yeah.
and just be like, here you go. No one else can beat me to this punch because other than
But
you,
here,
Meg, whoever
but
you are.
here's the thing. Well, she lives in St. Louis, so I don't think she'll be here before you.
Yeah,
I think you'll
suck
meet
it,
the baby
Meg.
first. That's right. And the thing is, because I think we do think we want more than one child. I don't know if we're going to use the other name if we have the other sex the second time around. Who knows? Who knows?
That is
So
just wild to think about. It's
I know.
interesting though, because so one of my buddies, as you're aware, he and his wife, when they had their first, were told all along, and she was high risk, so they did several full body anatomy scan ultrasounds that it was a
Mm-hmm.
boy, and they had their boy name picked out, and it was Mason Matthew. And on the day that baby was born, she came out a beautiful, healthy baby girl, and now she's Macy Marie. But they were like, if we ever have a boy, will that be Mason Matthew, or is Mason Matthew something that is now gone? And
It's a lot of
so
M's.
it is. It's a lot of M's. Neither parent is an M name.
I We'll see. I'm curious to see what we think. if and when. And then, okay, so along those lines, yeah, you mentioned them having it being a surprise when they came out. Speaking of like all that, the process of having the baby, like, what are your thoughts on having people like in the waiting room other than the partner? Like, what did you guys do?
Again, I hate to put the qualifier on this is really a risk tolerance or maybe just a tolerance thing for every individual person. Going back 14 years with Lily, I think that was just a totally different, it was a totally different scenario.
Mm-hmm.
Um, our dad and mom were there. Her parents and grandparents were there, grandma. Going to Eliza, which was 2018, we went in the middle of the night, and her mom, first grandchild of her daughter, second overall, but like first of her daughter, her mom came like almost immediately after we did and was like there all night. Now that was fine. The only problem, and not in the waiting room, like in the room. The only problem was like I had nowhere to sleep because she slept on the like little couch thingy that they had in there, and that's again, it's totally fine as long as mom is okay with it. Like Jess
Yeah.
was fine with it, and so it was okay. With Sky, that was 2021, early 2021, and we are like just out of the pandemic. She and I are both having to be masked through this entire thing. And so not only did we not have anybody in the room, we did not have anyone in the waiting room, and we did not have any visitors come to the hospital at all, which was a light rule of the hospital. They
Mm-hmm.
were allowing visitors if we wanted. They didn't explicitly tell us that, but we saw that other visitors were coming and going. But we really enjoyed not having visitors at the hospital because it's a lot and you're
Mm-hmm.
trying to be attentive to them while they're attentive to the baby. And that's great. But I think what I would go back and tell myself in that situation is they are not there to see you. They are there to make sure you're okay, mom and dad, most people, mom especially, obviously. But it is traumatic for dad too. So most people will check, and then all they care about is snuggling the baby, and you don't really have to be attentive. You can nap and take advantage of that time when they
Mm-hmm.
are there because as much as they want to be there to support you, and I really want to be there to support you and Alex, but like mainly I know how important this is to you, and so I want to be there for you. Whether that's in the waiting room or with bagels and like just handing you coffee through the door, like whatever, like that, I want to be there for you. But I think the thing that I would tell myself and what I would tell you and Alex is like, if you guys choose to have people come visit you at the hospital, feel like it's okay to just say like, here's your grand's baby,
Mm-hmm.
here's your new niece or nephew. I'm gonna like chill and like maybe doze off,
Mm-hmm.
and that is like totally fine and often really really needed because it's stressful and it's a lot and you're gonna be exhausted.
Yeah, we here's your grandbaby made me laugh. We are
I think I actually
choosing
said grand's baby.
Grand's baby. Here's your Grand's baby. Yeah, we are choosing to not have anybody there until the baby arrives, just because, like you said, it's the most important thing that the mom be as comfortable as possible. And she just said, she's like, I just want it to be me and you. I don't want like to even have a remote thought in my brain of like people are waiting for this. Like just, and I totally was on board with that. The moment the baby is arrives and we've done like the golden hour, and like I know for a fact they are both healthy and okay. I will text everyone and be like, baby is here. We're going to get a few hours of shut eye, hopefully. Probably not. We'll text you guys in a little bit and like figure out. Because we do, like you said, it's the eighth grandchild on our side. So mom and dad are overjoyed because their baby, I'm the youngest, their baby is having a baby. They're overjoyed. But also it's the eighth. And like our family will, as much as everyone wants to come meet them, I think our family will understand if we're like, we just need to be, Jay will ignore that and be like, when can I come? And that's, I've made peace with that and I'm very excited about that. But I feel like everyone would be like, okay, we totally get it. We'll come to the house whenever. But like I'm sure her mom, like her mom is such a sweetheart. She definitely would want to be there the whole time if she could, but she'll want to be there as soon as we allow her. So also, if it gets to Tuesday, which you'll know, and stay tuned for episode 2, if it gets to Tuesday, she's going to have to be induced, which is a much longer process. So we don't want people just like hanging around for 40 hours being like, do you guys want a sandwich? I don't think there's a wrong answer to that one. Like you said, I think ultimately it's what the mom feels most comfortable with. That's really all that matters. So those, like I said, that's just us attending those, but the rest of the events, the showers, the appointments, should guys be attending those? This is an obvious answer, but it's fun to talk about.
Of course. I mean, I will say this. There is so much that people don't think about that moms go through when they are growing this human inside them. One of the classes that I went to, Jess and I went together before Eliza was born, and they were telling us it's basically like carrying a bowling bag with the ball in it and a bunch of other stuff on your tummy the whole time. And you think, this baby is 8, 9, 10 pounds, which is not insignificant, of
Hmm.
course, but that's not too much to carry. So, I think that's what some guys feel like, but it's actually significantly heavier than that. And it's incessant, and there's no break
Hmm.
from it ever. And then when you go to the appointments, they're constantly poked and prodded. Blood is constantly drawn, which is already unpleasant. We go and get our flu shot or our COVID booster every year, and it's like, oh, this hurts so bad. But they are getting literal blood draws
Hmm.
constantly for 40 weeks. It's just very uncomfortable for a variety of reasons. And the least that we can do is be there when they want us there and
Hmm.
be out of the room when they don't, because in addition to all that, they're super vulnerable throughout a bunch of this. And there are going to be times when they maybe just don't want us there in the room. I'm sure that most partners want their partner with them, but there are times when it's just like, hey, this is too much and I need some like semblance of my own dignity. And so I think, yes, 100%. Dads should be at the appointments, dads should be at the showers, dads should be at every event, you know, even just like registering for baby stuff or making
Hmm.
decisions about like what baby clothes and baby cribs and that, which are, like aren't events, but they are important kind of landmarks or milestones along the way, but all through the lens of making sure that mom knows like whatever you want is I want to be there as much as you are comfortable with me being there, and I know that there's going to be times when you're not, and then making them feel comfortable to say this is one of those times where just like sit in the car, sit in the waiting room, sit in the
Hmm.
hallway, and I will call you in when I'm ready.
Yeah, I totally agree. I went to every single thing, every single appointment. Like you couldn't keep me away. The fact that like I got to hear, every month and then every 2 weeks and every week, I got to hear our baby's heartbeat. I got to see them squirming around and like learn how big they were and like all these different things. Like getting to see. There's a very funny. I'll like put it somewhere at some point, but there's a very funny. Like is it ultrasound sonogram photo that we got of our baby giving like a little thumbs up, and like I got to see that in real time, like all that stuff. And then for the shower, all these important women in our lives like jokingly were like, hey, what are you doing here? And that was my response. I was like, well, first off, baby shower, it's our baby. I am as much a parent as Alex is. She's doing all of the hard work right now. Like once that baby is here, I am going to take over literally as much as I can, because I, not as an obligation, but because I want to. I'm going to be a parent. I'm so excited about that. But I was like, all of the important women in both of our lives are in the same room. Why would I not want to be here for that? Also, good food that we paid for. Like, let me get some of those nom noms. So this is like a very short topic, but like, yeah, if you are a guy and you have the opportunity, if your work life balance affords you the ability to go to the appointments, to go to the showers, like Jay said, to go look at the crib and the stroller and the car seats and like register for the stuff. Even if you say like, I don't really care about what the stuff looks like, well, you're going to be putting this stuff on the baby. You're going to be, learning how to use the monitors and learning how, like, you're probably going to be putting together the crib if you bought it from like Wayfair like we did, and that was a nightmare. But like you only get to do this for the first time once. Like even if you have more kids, a lot of that I think is going to be hand me downs, or like you're just going to know what it's like. You only get to do it once for the first time, so do it as much as you can.
And you know what else is exhausting for any person, let alone somebody that's going through all the appointments and growing a human and uncomfortable all the time? Making decisions.
Yes.
Just make some decisions. Like it's easy for me to say, well, I don't really care about the color of the room, or I don't care like between these three, or I don't care
Mm-hmm.
about which onesies or which diapers. Like, those are all easy things to say, but taking the weight of a decision off somebody is one of the
Mm-hmm.
best gifts you can give them, at least in my mind. So again, understanding where do you come across or where do they come across with wanting to make this decision, or just needing some help and saying like, can you please, dinner for us is one of those things
Yeah.
where I'll make anything. I don't care. I just really don't want to think about what it is. So if you tell me what, then I can go get the stuff. I can make it.
Hmm.
That's totally fine. And I find myself expressing a lot of gratitude for that to Jess when she's like, "Hey, let's do this for dinner, taco salads, whatever." And I'm like, "Thank you for deciding what we're gonna do for dinner." And like bonus points if you're making it, that's great. But the decision is a thing. And then the only other thing on this topic is keep in mind that especially OB appointments, they don't end when the baby's born. They continue on like 2 to 4 to 6 weeks to a couple months after to make sure that everything is okay with mom. And those are every bit as important to either attend with or make sure that you're taking care of baby or just making sure that mom's comfortable with whatever that plan is
Hmm.
to, so that when she's going and doing this super uncomfortable physical thing, that's the only thing she has to
Yeah.
worry about.
Okay. Those were more main topicsy than we thought they were going to be, but I love those awesome conversations. All right, so our main topic of the day is going to be what can a soon to be dad, me, do to best like prepare and help out mom while she's doing all the hard work of having a baby, like actually going through this. So every episode we're going to have a main topic and then we're going to say,
Let's dad
let's dad
this.
this. So let's dad this. Jay, what can I do while Alex is in labor going through this process other than internally freak out but not show her that?
That's a great number one is whatever it is that you're going through and freaking out about, there's a fine line of letting her know that it's not just her that's stressed about this. You are too, but you have to walk the line of not adding to her stress. Like, this is stress I can deal with, but there's so much literal weight and figurative weight that she's carrying. And our job is to help her carry that load as much as we possibly can. Sometimes that is giving her the empathy to know I am also stressed. I am also worried about what's going to come after, but that I'm here for you and we are going to get through this part that leads to it because I can't even imagine how it feels. So the things that I tried to do were again make sure that and this continues to this day make sure that all the things that she wants done are done. So you've got a go bag packed, I'm certain of it. Hopefully you did that, or at least
Not if I could just interrupt. Not only do we have our go bags packed and I've had them packed for months, but right before we started recording this, I opened up, triple checked the go bag, and added unnecessarily two more baby outfits for the baby. Continue.
I hope you added more snacks as well. You can never have enough snacks because it's not about the quantity of snacks, it's about the breadth of snacks.
Huge.
Because there's going to be things that she wants or doesn't want. And if you happen to have that, that's great. But so go bag is one thing. The nursery, again, if we weren't so close to your due date, these would be things that may have been helpful tips. But I know the nursery has been done for weeks. And while she might pick the crib with a little bit of input from you, knowing whether or not she wants to put it together, like with her hands physically, that sometimes is a mom nesting thing that she wants to do. That's something you can do to take some of the load off. Making sure that everything is set at the house for when baby comes home. So, not just nursery, but are you nursing? Are you going to be using bottles? Are you going to be pumping? Making sure all of that stuff is in a place that's going to be comfortable for her so that when she gets home with the baby, it's like, here's what we do. I would almost suggest doing like a dry run with a Cabbage Patch doll or something. It's like, let's try to simulate as best we can. You're exhausted. You just get home from the hospital. This thing did not come with an instruction manual. So now what is it that I do? And actually go through is the place where you're going to change diapers. So whether it's a bassinet in the pack and play or whether it's on a changing table, is that easily accessible? And is there one easily accessible for like downstairs where you're hanging out most of the time and also in the room? And have her try it. Like maybe even have her diaper a baby doll to see because it's uncomfortable now and it's not going to be any more comfortable when you get home. And then knowing that all that is situated for her to be as comfortable as possible doing it, don't make her do any of those things. When push comes to shove, do the diapers. Do as many feedings as you can if there's like pumping going on or if
Mm-hmm.
you're bottle feeding. Take all of that stress away And then the more you know, I think gives them confidence to say, like, I can actually sleep. But those are my biggest things is like make sure that you know what they need in terms of nesting. Make sure that the area is actually prepared for when you come home and do like dry runs, and then make sure everything is prepared for go time so
Hmm.
that she can be as comfortable as possible. And the reason I say that this persists to this day, and I was talking to our friend about this the other day, when we go on vacation, Jess has copious notes about what everybody needs. And she likes to pack it because she wants to
Hmm.
make sure that it's there. But one of the things that I have discovered on our last two trips that I can do that works with her copious notes, that works with her needing to pack it, I can take everything and lay it out by kid on our bed and say like six pairs of undies, six outfits, four, three different types of shoes, whatever, everything that's included. I can put it all out so she can see it, go through it, see what I have, and then pack it if she wants or not if she wants to change things out. But at least that way she's not feeling like I have to go through everything and do it all myself. She has some help. And even just that little nuance
Hmm.
matters. So all of those kind of supportive things where you know what she wants, and this is going to be a learning curve for you too as you learn how she prepares and how she learns how she prepares to take care of baby. I think that's all.
I love that. Normally, I would also chime in here, but again, haven't done it yet at recording. So we have done all the home stuff for sure. I love
Have
that.
you
That's super
actually
helpful.
tried having her do like changing it, like simulating what you're?
We
It's nothing. It's not going to be anything like you expect,
yeah.
whatever it is. But
So we haven't done a dry run yet. I really like that idea. I will say I watched a podcast by a woman. I can't remember the name of it, but she has three kids, and she and her husband like wrote this full list of things that it was for dads. It was like when we were planning this, I was like, oh, let me see what other people think. And she had a note that her and her husband abide by, and like I'm absolutely using that, and it's funny, but it's true. She was like, while I'm in diapers, meaning the mom, she's like, well, I'm in diapers, no changing diapers. And so I know for a fact I will fully be like I have told Alex this a million times. I've told you this. Like, I'm just excited to be able to like feel like I can start doing stuff, and so I know I'm actually gonna have to like eventually yield some of the like staying up all night with the baby, so I will get some sleep or like not doing all of the diapers and stuff. But from the jump, I'm going to do all that stuff. Not because I'm some hero, because again, I'm a parent. I'm going to be a dad. Like that's just being a dad. But I do like the dry run thing. We have a Highland cow that is like the exact size of a newborn. So I will be using that to. I swaddled it. I've been practicing swaddling it. I have not practiced diapering it, so I will do that this weekend. I like that.
yeah, if I could tell you one thing about swaddling, you're not doing it tight enough.
Yeah,
I've
I've
never
noticed
seen you
that.
swaddle. I've never seen you swaddle anything. I can just tell you right now, you're not doing it tight enough.
Yeah, I well, we're also I will say we're a certain type of person where our Instagram targeted us for the easier swaddlings, and we may have gotten many of them. So we'll see if any of those work.
You got some sleep sacks. I know you guys said that you got
Oh, we got sleep
outlet.
sacks. Yeah, we got an outlet. We got sleep sacks. We got like the sleep sacks that tie at the bottom, the ones that zip at the bottom, the ones that are like dual zip, so you can just like take them over the baby. We
Hmm.
got the ones that are like kind of like mummies, where you wrap them. We got like the little starfish looking ones. One of the nice things, and then we'll kind of wrap up, but like one of the nice things about being the youngest in the family, and also like I'm 39. All of her friends have kids. So we got a lot of hand-me-downs, which is great. And we have had a lot of people tell us like this worked, this didn't, this worked, this like you and Jess gave us the baby Bjorn chair lounger. I'm just gonna call it a baby lounger. That's not what it is, but
Glider?
is it a glider? Like the little thing that they rock back and forth in?
No, I think it's a bouncer.
Yeah. Anyway, we got lots of stuff like that from people. So we'll see what works and what doesn't. What you mentioned that we wanted to end every show with like a fun fact or tidbit. We didn't talk about that ahead of time. Did you have one?
I had a couple ideas. What is your plan for poopy diapers?
We have a diaper genie. We did get one, and explicitly because our mutual best friend Max swore by it, and then our friend Jeff did as well. So we have like a diaper genie that the bags sort of like rip off and
Hmm.
the bottom. So we do have one of those. It's right next to, we have one right next to where we're going to change them upstairs. We don't have a second one downstairs. This is a good conversation because I did not realize, didn't even think about that for the first floor.
Okay, so doggy poop bags work great, and I'm
Okay.
sure you have some of those.
Yes.
So I would say those
Just
are
a
good for
couple.
downstairs. For the diaper genie, There's Arm& and Hammer sticky circle thingies.
Mm.
I don't think they come with the diaper genie, but you should buy just like 1,000 of them on Amazon and stick them inside the diaper genie because that thing will still smell even though it is in a bag. And we've got the like we had the rip down thing and you just tie the end of it too. But invest in the Arm& and Hammer thingies. I'll send you a link.
I love that. Awesome. I think that's a good place to end. Well, I'm sure we'll think of a snazzy ending at the end of one of these, but that's that's the show. Next time you hear this voice, actually, by the time you hear this the first time, there'll be a kid. But next time we talk, we'll be talking about the first week or two of me having a child. I'm sure we'll have
You'll
lots to
have
say.
way less pep. It'll be great.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks for listening, everybody.
Yeah, thank you. It's good to meet you all.